Hi everyone, welcome to my review of Joel Schumacher's Falling Down in 1993. So this is a film that I rewatched tonight. I'd seen it twice before this rewatch, and that was many years ago, almost a decade ago actually that I last saw this film. But yes, I always loved it, and I thought, yeah, I'd just give it a rewatch and see, how good it is compared to what I thought about it back then. See if it is just as good as I remembered, basically. And luckily it was. It was probably even better than I remembered. This is a very unique film. It's not most critically acclaimed, but it's pretty strong on IMDb. And yeah, it's just a film that I always, it's got many famous scenes, particularly the one where he kind of goes into the first fast food place, and yeah, it's got Michael Douglas as the main character. Robert Duvall as the actual, the detective on his case, and Barbara Hershey. You've even got Frederic Forrest, who's in Apocalypse Now. If you recognise, the guy that goes into the store at one point, and he's kind of this guy that's I won't ruin, but yes, you'll probably recognise him. He looks a bit different, but he was in Apocalypse Now as chef, and yeah, you've got quite a lot of famous actors in this film. And it's basically a very simple plot, kind of reminiscent of something like Taxi Driver or something. It's basically Michael Douglas, his character. Very opening scene, he's kind of stuck in a traffic jam, and things keep boiling up, and there's people shouting and everything, and it's just it's intense heat and stuff like that, and he just flips basically, and the rest of the film is basically him going on a kind of things build up over time and stuff, but he kind of goes on a spree, and I won't ruin exactly what happens, but it's kind of this social commentary, and it is a satire at times as well. It's a black comedy, you could say, and it does it like that, in a comedy way, but also very graphic and everything like that, and quite hard hitting, and there's, of course, people get killed along the way, but it's just a film that I just, when I first saw it, I was just amazed by. It was just thoroughly compelling throughout, and something that especially in the end, is very touching actually. Although of course it is, Michael Douglas is a character that's very complex in this film. He plays a very complex character. He just because you kind of relate to him, in many ways. But the fact that he does go around killing people and stuff is, of course, something that he goes way too far. But some of the things basically that that he says and everything, his motivations, you can kind of at times see what he means and stuff. How he's angry basically. Of course, he wouldn't go that far, but it's kind of like Taxi Driver, where you can understand at times where he's coming from and stuff. And all these gang members and stuff that are in the film and stuff, they kind of they had it coming to them, kind of thing, the stuff that happens to them. But a very complex character, because he thinks he's doing right, in a way, and he's purely innocent, kind of thing. But of course he's not, and yeah, it's a very complex character study. And this character William that he plays is just very layered character, and performance from Michael Douglas is just stunning, really. Absolutely wonderful performance. Probably the best I've seen of Michael Douglas, actually. I've not seen massive amounts of films with him in it, but this is probably the best I've seen. Of course, Michael Douglas is just a great actor. Kirk Douglas is probably, I still prefer Kirk Douglas, his work, Spartacus, Paths of Glory, and stuff like that. But Michael Douglas is great, and in this film, it's just, an absolute powerhouse performance. You kind of feel for this character, William, he plays. Even though, of course, he does kill people and do stuff that, is just too far. Because he's really humorous in the film, and just, you do kind of feel sorry for him at times, quite a lot. Sympathetic character. And of course, you've kind of got this dual character study that goes throughout the narrative. Robert Duvall's character, the detective that he plays, is kind of in some ways a kind of a different version of Michael Douglas's William character. It, of course, they're not entirely the same, but there's many similarities, and it doesn't just focus on Michael Douglas's character, kind of this detective, who's kind of in his last day. He's meant to be retiring, finishing early basically. The film kind of focuses quite a lot on him and his home life, in the way that his wife is always calling him and stuff, and slowly over the film you learn more and more about his character, and that's great. It's great that they developed both of these characters kind of in similar amounts. In fact, you could say that Robert Duvall's character is developed further than Michael Douglas's, purely because I think that a lot of the stuff with Michael Douglas is kind of left more in a more ambiguous fashion, you could say. But yeah, just as the film goes on, as the tensions rise, the day goes on, because it's set across the one day. The characters are developed further, more and more constantly, and it's just kind of masterful character development. It's just stunning. The writing in this film is wonderful. The direction by Joel Schumacher is wonderful, and the performances are stunning. It's just a brilliant film. And the cinematography is stunning. Actually, the framing and everything like that, and just the way that the use of close-ups to intensify the scenes and stuff. And just the thing it's one of them films you kind of remember, or it's set across this one day, and that's kind of usually quite a lot of the time it's a perfect way to make a thriller. And of course this is a thriller at heart, of course a comedy as well, but it's kind of there's something about a thriller that's set over one day, or an hour or 2 hours or whatever, or in one place, one location, that kind of just makes it more contained and memorable, and it just kind of allows it to be more thrilling, intense, you could say, and kind of on the edge of your seat, like Rear Window, for example. But yes, this is as the film goes on, it just becomes more tense, and of course there's comedy throughout, but mainly in the first half, and then it does become more of a a moving drama at times as well. But yes, as I've said, it's just an absolutely stunning film, where you get the perfect character development, and as I was saying, all the kind of scenes where he's encountering different people throughout his kind of travels across the day is also memorable. Every single kind of place he goes to, and the people he meets, whatever happens there won't ruin. But it's always memorable. They always stick out so well. It's very, very just great contained scenes in themselves, but each scene just kind of makes after it ends, it just Michael Douglas becomes more and more kind of angry and off the wall, and it kind of just it makes him more completely unhinged and stuff. I just think that's great, because in that sense, just every single scene really just adds momentum to the narrative, in that sense. And of course, while that's going on, Robert Duvall is slowly kind of figuring out, stuff, and catching on to him, basically, because what people are saying, different witnesses, the kind of describing Michael Douglas's character William, and of course, that there's a lot of kind of things that Duvall's character is kind of relating to him and stuff as well, because about his kid and everything, and there's some very, very touching stuff, Robert Duvall's storyline, involving the family, the stuff and that, and as well, I really loved the female cop that he's with, his partner that he kind of goes along with. She was great in this film, absolutely brilliant. I really liked her, one of my favourite characters. And just as well, the stuff that kind of the power struggle that goes on, in the office and that, the police station, is great. It's absolutely stunning. Just loved it. Very, very entertaining throughout. All of this film, and it just becomes it kind of moves very, very gradually from a comedy thriller to kind of a very, very dark kind of drama. At the end, because as things are revealed, things become more and more, emotional for Michael Douglas's character, and of course as a viewer, and it's just something that's very, very relatable. Of course, he does go, off the wall and stuff, and he does go too far, but it's stuff that you can kind of at least see some of the stuff where the actual beginnings of his ideas kind of stem from, and stuff that of course everyone kind of gets things that in the film that everyone gets annoyed with, and it's just of course he's reacting a bit more of course over the top than other people would, but it's things that you can understand how someone that's unhinged like that could go it's kind of further and make them go kind of mad. But yeah, it's just stuff that is, you kind of say, oh yeah, of course you understand that kind of thing. But as well, the fact that his family life, all that sort of stuff is the backstory. Exposition is so wonderfully woven in there. It just adds another layer, and it just makes for a masterpiece, really, for me. I think that there's nothing really to flaw, throughout this film, and it kind of just gets better and better, though. It's it just gets better and better. It's a one that kind of just you get sucked into. Very absorbing narrative. Highly entertaining throughout. Great comedy, masterful comedy. So many memorable scenes. Michael Douglas is wonderful. Robert Duvall, is stunning in this film. All the side characters as well. His partner, and his wife as well. That is really just on the phone. Barbara Hershey's character, she's great, and all the stuff that goes on there. All these different things are going on, in different locations, and it all contributes to this constant narrative flow. Then it all comes together at the end, quite perfectly. It culminates into very, very, mixed emotions at the end. And you kind of don't, at least me, I don't really know how to react to the ending kind of thing, ending sequence, because it's quite a lot of complex feelings, you get. But really, at the end of the day, it's just all masterfully done. Direction is pretty flawless from Joel Schumacher. As I said, Michael Douglas is just wonderful in this film. It's just a masterpiece from me. It doesn't quite get into my tears or anything like that. My 100% plus tears, but it's definitely a masterpiece. Not a lot of people would say that. I would. I just think it's just a stunning film. I've always loved it, and yeah, it's just a masterfully crafted thriller. Of course, moving drama at times, and it's a lot of it is a satire at times as well, and very, very, very clever kind of social commentary. But not preachy in that way, and just all the encounters that happen throughout the film are also memorable and always add something to that momentum. And the tension just builds perfectly throughout. It's kind of the fact that it's a really hot day as well in the film kind of adds to that tension. You kind of feel this intensity and stuff, and the fact that it's just over that one day as well, it just gives it a natural feel. Kind of it's like it's happening over over to real time and stuff, and it's just all comes together wonderfully at the end. So overall, I think I'll have to give this film 100%. Definitely a masterpiece, and it's just, if you've not seen this film, check it out. It's amazing. A lot of people would say it's a masterpiece, but I would. I don't care. It's not one of the best films ever made or anything like that, but I just think it does pretty much everything right. It's just kind of flawless in terms of direction, cinematography, editing. Just great thriller, absolutely stunning thriller, drama, and of course, as I've said, it's great satire as well. And it's it never goes overboard. But it does make some really, really interesting kind of observations. It's a social commentary in that sense, and one where the characters match the kind of stuff that goes on there, the comments and stuff. But it's something that the narrative is so compelling and just so masterfully crafted that it's just a wonderful film. Great film, masterpiece in my opinion, and yeah, highly recommend it if you've not seen it. You probably won't be disappointed. But yes, thanks for watching my review of Falling Down.